Hello and welcome to the English Like a Native podcast. My name is Anna and you are listening to a very different type of episode today. We are breaking away from the usual scheduled format just for a week, and I'm going to take this opportunity to take you behind the scenes. This is a completely unscripted, off-the-cuff chit-chat to give you a bit more insight into the work we do to get the 5 a day out to you and how the 5 a day even came to exist. In the mix of that, I hope to share with you something crucially important that will help you as a learner and in your general personal growth. So, thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you'll stick with me as I ramble my way through today's episode. So 3.5 years ago, I had an itch. This is something we say metaphorically when we have something that's bugging us or nagging us, a little thought, an idea that we just can't let go of, and we need to scratch it. You know that feeling? When you have an itch and you just need to scratch it. Well, metaphorically, we might have a desire to do something and we just need to do it. The desire won't go away unless we fulfill that need. And for about 12 months before I started the podcast, I had the desire to start podcasting. I wasn't sure what the podcast would look like, or rather sound like. I didn't know exactly what I'd talk about, but I knew that I wanted to play more with my voice and play with this medium. I actually recorded 3 episodes of the Elan podcast before I even set up the podcast. My partner acts as my voice of reason. He is my sounding board. A sounding board is a person or a group of people you use to bounce ideas off. You tell them something and let them feed back to you. Because you can have ideas that you think are great, but as soon as you say them out loud to somebody else, they might make you realize that's not a good idea. They might make you think of it from a different perspective. And my partner kept saying to me, "You're very busy. You've got 2 young children. Don't be crazy. Don't add something else to your plate." And I knew he was right, so I held off, but I couldn't stop thinking about podcasting. So eventually, I started podcasting. My first episode went out somewhere around the middle of 2022. I was just doing 1 a week, and these episodes centered around a specific topic. So it was me talking about British culture. I think the first episode was about gardens, one about animals, one about money. But then I started experimenting because I felt like I needed to find a solid format. I tried different things. I made some mistakes, especially technically. There were times when I'd record an entire episode and then realize the microphone wasn't turned on. There were times when I didn't do enough research and I was just rushing to get content out, and I made mistakes and had to scrap the entire episode because I hadn't researched the topic well enough and I didn't put it across in the right way. And so I made errors. But from every mistake I made, I used it as a learning opportunity. With every trial, I managed to improve and get better and better. Now, the 5 a day came in a year after we launched the podcast. My YouTube views were down and I was trying to find a way to make more podcast episodes. And I thought, well, for a week, I'm going to post every day and see what happens. See if I can encourage people to be more consistent with me, more regular, to visit me every day for a week. Let's see if it works. And so for 1 week only, I did this experiment called 5 a day. The idea of the title 5 a day comes from the phrase, 5 a day keeps the doctor away. We say this to remind ourselves to eat 5 portions of fruit and veg each day, because if you eat 5 portions a day, then you should have a good amount of fiber and nutrition in your diet, and therefore you won't be poorly. I was thinking, what if you had 5 items of vocabulary per day? Many of my students were struggling to remember their new vocabulary. The vocabulary needed to be delivered in context. It needed to be activated through practice. So I thought, well, if I introduce 5 items of vocabulary within a story context and give the students a task to write their own examples using the new vocabulary, then that will work very well to help them grow and be healthy in their English language. And the feedback was fantastic. People really enjoyed it. But I learned quite quickly that doing a video a day for a whole week was too much. I couldn't do it. I was on my own with this project. It was too much for me to manage. So 1 week was fine. And I left that and went back to my old ways of doing just 1 episode a week, trialing different formats and playing around. After a few months, I was continuously hearing how much people enjoyed the 5 a day, and I thought, maybe I could find a way to be consistent. So at that point, I decided to bring some team members into play. And so I had someone helping me with general management, scheduling and publishing the episodes, titles and descriptions, and doing the transcripts. Because although you can have an automatically generated transcript, there are often errors. So I asked my team to help me with uploading and making sure all the episodes go out at the same time every single day. No one in my team is in the UK apart from me. Alex, who helps me with the transcripts, lives out in Ukraine. Emily, who does the second proofread, manages the episode through to publish. She lives in Spain. And season 3 is different again. Season 3 is a whole book. And I have a writer called Mike who's doing a fantastic job. I brought him on board with an idea of a story following a traveller from France called Gabriel, who has come to the UK on a mission to find out more about British culture because his grandmother is from the UK. And so I said, Mike, here's the idea. And I think we can have him moving around the UK and exploring and discovering interesting language and having adventures in different places. But I don't want him to visit London. Everybody talks about London, but I don't think London is a fair representation of the UK. There are so many wonderful sites, so many wonderful places and people to meet around the UK. And let's forget about London. Let's do all the other places. Not all the other places, but many other places around the UK that are of interest. We break down the book in the episodes that you hear. Every week you'll hear 1 chapter spread across the week. And within each day, we deliver 5 items of vocabulary to you. One of the things that I really enjoy when I listen to audiobooks or to the radio, I really enjoy radio dramas when you're really pulled into the story. You can paint the pictures in your mind, but you're really taken along by the narrator. And things that can help that are sound effects, character voices. And I want to do that as much as possible. So you will see images on the screen, but rarely will you see videos. I want you to imagine it in your mind. I also enjoy having the occasional sound effect, not too many, but the occasional sound effect to create the atmosphere and the character voices. I think it's easier to hear different voices when there's dialogue. So I wondered to myself, how, with my limited time, can I make the character voices work? Now, I did make you a promise that for the podcast, I would only ever use my human voice, that you would never hear an AI voice. Now, that promise holds true. But how could I do these character voices, when it's just me and asking actors or people to record lines for me, when it's just a couple of lines here and there? That would be quite tricky and a lot of organization. So I discovered a fantastic tool that can change my voice. So I can try my best to put on a voice, hold my nose, puff out my cheeks, try to sound very low, try to sound very high. I can change the speed, I can change the accent. But essentially, you still generally know it's me. So this voice changer has been a game changer. The voice changer is a game changer. So I perform all the character voices and put them into this voice changer so that they sound different. It's my performance, but the tone is different.
Yes.
Yes.
We don't have quite the same thing in France. So
I was wondering, what do you think?
Better to do things in company sometimes.
Better to do things in company sometimes.
I think that's worked very well. I don't know what you think. So, although it's only 10 minutes long, hours of work has gone into each episode. So I actually start by recording Friday. I record backwards. I record Friday, the full story. And then I record all the bits around the story. I have to change my voice for all the characters. Then I cut that audio into the script and make the images using AI image generation. So there's a lot of cutting and editing and pasting and changing and creating going on until I have the final episodes. And then I let my team know Alex is the first one in there. So then he takes over the project and goes through the transcripts. He works his butt off to make sure that all these transcripts are as good as they can be, if not perfect. And then we hand over to Emily, and Emily takes over, does a quick pass to make sure everything is perfect. She adds in the sound effects. Once she's happy, she will upload. I will make a thumbnail for YouTube and for Spotify as well, because we have the videos on Spotify. Each of us has a part to play to get everything right, do the descriptions and the titles, and we're communicating via WhatsApp. It's a whole system that's evolved over time. And then once it's all ready and scheduled to go, then we hand over to my community manager, Anne-Marie. Now, Anne-Marie's job is to deal with the materials that help Podcast Plus members. So once an episode is released, Anne-Marie takes everything and creates the learning page, because every episode has a supporting page in Podcast Plus. And then she'll create a handful of questions, usually around 8 to 10 comprehension questions about the story and the vocabulary that's been covered. And so she creates the quiz, creates the page, publishes that for the Podcast Plus members, and we can all sigh a breath of relief. That is where we are today. And there is an intention to release the entire book for season 3 as a learning aid. There will be an ESL reading and comprehension support. I'm very excited to release that. And who knows what comes next? Who knows what comes next? What I've managed to prove by doing the 5 a day for so long is that people can quite easily, with the right tools and resources, build a habit that sticks. My whole reason behind doing the 5 a day was to allow those people who are very busy, who don't feel that there's any space in their life to improve, to give them something that will help them to keep moving so they don't go stale. We purposefully made these episodes shorter, 10 minutes, because everyone has a point in their day where they do something monotonous, something quite passive. And we can listen to something else while we're driving, commuting on the train, on the bus, walking, exercising, cooking, cleaning. We all have 10 minutes where we could listen at the same time. And so I've made the 5 a day season 3 perfect for fitting into those moments. And we've proved that by providing you with the right resources, you can build a habit. And I know that this is effective by the comments that I read almost every day. People telling me how their English has improved, that they can't believe how much more confident they feel, or how much their writing has come on, or how much easier they find listening and understanding since listening to the podcast. So with the right tools, there's always a way to achieve what you want to achieve, even if you don't have very much time. Now, what this whole project has also taught me, 2 things. It's taught me the importance of acting without too much thought and procrastination. I told you that when I first had the itch, and the itch was so strong I had to scratch it with this podcast, I didn't know what the format was going to be. I didn't really know what it looked like long term. But I acted, even though my sounding board, my partner, was saying it's a bad idea. I just did it. And that's something I've done before by launching YouTube channels and things like that. And I know you learn much faster by doing than by sitting and thinking. Why am I pressing on this? Because when you're sitting in your room, in your study or in your office, and you're learning through a little app, or you're writing lists of vocabulary, and you're saying to yourself, I'll speak more when I'm ready. I'll speak more when I feel more confident. I'll speak more when I've learnt more vocabulary. I'll speak more when my grammar's better. It's going to take such a long time for you to improve that way on your own, just thinking it through. You will learn much faster by doing. So I like to refer to things called growth cycles, like iteration cycles. We iterate and iterate and iterate. The idea is that you start, you do it, you test it. You test having a conversation with a stranger in a coffee shop. And then by doing, you get some sort of feedback. It might be terrible. You might make a mess of it. You might be hit with, I'm sorry, I don't understand a word you've just said. That's the worst thing that can happen, right? Or maybe you, absolute worst case scenario, you say something and the person you're talking to bursts into tears and runs away and you think, what have I just done? What did I just say? What do they think I just said? That's worst case scenario. But that's still feedback. We act, we get feedback, and then we listen to that feedback and we make adjustments. We improve, we learn a little lesson, and then we complete the cycle by trying again. We go out and we do it again. And you'll get some feedback from that. You'll learn something. Hopefully it'll be positive, and what you gain is confidence. So then you try again. You test, you listen, you tweak, you reiterate. That's the growth cycle. Growth cycles really work. So stop thinking, start doing. Now, I said there were 2 points. And I spoke for so long on the first point that I can't remember the second point. But that's okay. Just remember the most important lesson, which is iteration is the aim of the game, not perfection. We're not looking for perfection, we're looking for progress. So reiterate, reiterate, reiterate. I do remember the second thing now. I also learned that it's okay to change course. I set myself very big deadlines. I put myself onto a path that I feel like I can't deviate from. I put myself under lots of pressure. I say I have to do this podcast every day of the working week forevermore. And then life happens. Right now, my son is poorly. He's not been in school all week. He's not alone. Don't worry. He's sitting with his father. The point is, you can't always plan for life. Life does its own thing. What's important is that you stay flexible. I've learned that it's okay to say, do you know what? We're going to take a break. That deadline that I set, it no longer works because life happened. So we can adjust that deadline and I can be relaxed about that. We are often our own worst enemy. We set ourselves very high standards and we try and hold ourselves to those standards, which is good in many ways. But when it starts to make us feel stressed and unwell and unhappy, we have to change the game. We are in control. Those are my lessons for you. And I hope you found listening to the podcast useful and enjoyable. And the 5 a day will be back next week. So I hope that you will be around for that. Let me know in the comments what you think about anything I've said today. Please share your thoughts. I do love reading your comments. So please do feel free to share your thoughts with me. And until next time, take care of yourself and goodbye.